Whenever you're ready.
So there was this Disney article that I saw a while ago. This was April 23rd, 2021, and
Mm.
the article comes from Orlando Sentinel. It's from I guess a guest columnist. His name is Jonathan Van Boscher. I cannot pronounce that name. It's a long
Van
name.
Van Boskirk.
There you go.
Jonathan Van. There you go.
Hey, sorry about that, buddy. So it's entitled "I Love Disney World, but the wokeness is ruining the experience," and it's a commentary. So going over it,
Mm.
it's basically about like dress code, conduct, stuff like that, and he's upset that he's paying money to see people express themselves. So basically,
Like, well, Disney is making people dress in a certain way,
not making them.
or
No,
the
it's
people are like a black guy with braids. He don't want to see a black guy with braids. Is that or like a culture thing? Like, is that what you mean?
see there's some of that in there too, but it's
Okay.
also they're allowing tattoos to be shown as well, and they didn't used to do that. Uh, like you have to cover up all that stuff. So even if
Oh, okay. They're allowing their workers to wear different stuff. Okay.
mhm. Well, I don't know about wear different stuff because you still have like your uniform.
Yeah, I know that, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like certain office buildings, it's they make you wear long sleeve shirts if you have tattoos. They're allowing their workers to express themselves culturally versus that sounds like a good thing. Like this sounds like a first world problem situation, as you mentioned before. Like,
Yeah,
because usually most companies don't let you do that.
yeah. The more Disney moves away from, and I'll talk about that too because I feel like every time we have conversations like this, I always have something to say because I've either worked in the industry or something like that. The more Disney moves away from the values of and vision of Walt Disney, the less Disney World means to me. That's what this guy says. Now, to me, it's like, okay, if you, that was wasn't it back in the time like where where black people didn't really have rights and stuff when Disney World made these parks.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Back in the
let me
day.
not, yeah, let me not step on those kind of toes though. Uh, Disney is forgetting the guest immersion is at the core of its business model. When I stand in Galaxy's Edge or Fantasyland, I know I'm in a theme park, but through immersion and my willingness to set the real world aside, something magical happens. That spell is broken when the immersive experience is shattered by the real world. And boy, has Disney been breaking the immersion. Recently, Disney announced that the cast members are now permitted to display tattoos, wear inclusive uniforms, and display inclusive haircuts. Disney did all of this in the name of allowing cast members to express themselves. The problem is, I'm not traveling across the country and paying thousands of dollars to watch someone I do not know express themselves. I'm there for the
Mm.
immersion and the fantasy, not the reality of a stranger's self expression. I do not begrudge these people their individuality. I do not begrudge these people their individuality, and I wish them well in their personal lives, but I do not get to express my individuality at my place of business. So because
So you're jealous then? That's what it is. Like,
uh, so he
okay.
says, "What's next? Disney is going to end the rule barring on stage cell phones used by cast members as an infringement of self-expression." That's a, so on stage cast members is like uh, if you're like Belle or you're dressed up or something like that as
Mm.
a costume character, you can be on your cell phone. Of course, they're not going to do that. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Like that's taking your idea a
Yeah.
little bit
You
too
you go
far.
in the back or you go wherever it is the crew members
Yeah,
go to do
they're
that stuff.
not. That's not a fucking rule. They're not going to do that. More broadly, like many corporations, Disney has been politicizing its business. Full disclosure, I'm a Christian and a conservative Republican. Ah, that makes sense.
Damn, it's like that, Jolly.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It just made sense. Like, look, hold on. I don't even know if you can see the picture, bro. Hold on. When I saw that picture of the guy,
Mm-hmm.
I was
Mm.
like, oh, okay, yeah, he has to be like conservative as hell. Um, Okay, I'm a Christian and a conservative Republican, so the people who run Disney and I do not see eye to eye. So, I mean,
Okay.
then why give
You
them
do,
your money?
you don't have to go to their parks. Just saying.
Regardless, corporations have always made politically motivated decisions. Usually, it is due to a desire to make a profit, but sometimes it is due to the values of the people and the corporation. Walt Disney
Hmm.
used his corporation to express his patriotism during World War II and his pro capitalism beliefs afterward. The difference today is that the people who run Disney use social media to scream to the world that a decision has been made for political reasons.
Yep.
Disney is in the process of taking the woke scalpel to the Jungle Cruise. Trader Sam is out because he might offend certain people. Every grown up in the room realizes that Trader Sam is not the representation of reality. It is meant as a funny and silly caricature. It is no more based in racism than every Disney caricature of an out of touch white American dad. Uh, the next time I ride Jungle Cruise, I will not be thinking about the gloriously entertaining puns of the skippers. I will be thinking about Disney's political agenda. That's a mood killer. Disney proclaims that Splash Mountain must change because of its association with the Song of the South, which you know
That
about the
racist
Song of the
song, right?
South?
Yeah.
Yeah. Disney owns the Splash Mountain, so it can do what it wants. But if Disney screams at the top of its corporate voice, which is pretty loud, that it is changing it to appease a certain political point of view, now every time I look at the ride, I'm thinking about politics. The same with Pirates of the Caribbean. See, with this right here, it's like it's he's saying if they change based on a political thing, that's how he's going to see it. It's like
Yeah.
you only see politics where you want to see politics.
Yep.
What one person sees as offensive to a group, you may see as a political agenda when it's could necessarily be they just don't want to offend people because now we're in a time where things do change.
And people always get heat because of the old stuff. Like I agree with a lot of what he's saying. Disney is definitely doing that. I don't like it when they do it in the movies and stuff, but at the end of the day, if that's what they want to do, then you don't have to go to the parks. I don't have to watch their movies. It is what
Mhm.
it is. You know, it's their properties. It's their shit.
Pirates used to be one of my favorite attractions. My family would always ride it first on our first day at the Magic Kingdom. Now we do not ride it every trip. When my family rides Pirates now, each of the change scenes take us to out of the illusion because they remind us of reality and the politics that force the changes. Disney World is going to lose us as customers if it continues down its path. I do not want to have Disney World taken away from us because Disney cares more about politics than happy guests. This should matter to the people of Orlando because if Disney drives away customers like me, Orlando loses money. It can take my tourist dollars elsewhere. I would rather keep spending them in Orlando, but people like me more and more exclude by Disney's decisions. The parks are less fun because immersion and thus the joy is taking a backseat to politics. Disney, please return the values and the vision of Walt. The customer experience should be the core of his business model. Immersion should not be sacrificed on the altar of political correctness or appeasing the Twitter mob. So, how about this? How about if you think about the patriotism and all the other stuff he did during World War, what was it, two?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that also be considered pandering to the social climate of that day?
Yes, that's exactly what that was.
If during that day it was all about
Everybody was making.
patriotism,
Everybody was like this.
everybody,
Disney was making World War II cartoons. Marvel was making World War II comics. I mean,
yeah,
DC was making comics about it. That was the thing. Everybody had to fight for that war effort.
yeah, everybody had to. So I mean, it's like during that time, how do you even know Disney even cared about fighting? You know what I mean? He didn't. He probably he wasn't he Jewish or
Yeah,
something like that?
yeah.
So it's like
He was a rich dude who just only cared about his company and what he did and making money.
yeah. I mean, so you just immediately assume that back then he actually cared about that stuff. You never spoke to Walt Disney. You never spoke to anybody who made the theme parks. Shit
Hmm.
changes over time because no matter what, if you want to stay relevant as a business, you have to pander to your audience. And
Yep.
if in today's society your audience says, I don't want to deal with anything racist, then you have to pander to that and be like, you know what? Maybe our rides or our music that we're playing is a little insensitive because back in the day we thought that was okay, and in today's climate that's not okay, then maybe we do have to
Mhm.
change that if we want to keep the majority of the customers around.
Yeah, I
Because the
mean,
majority
they're
is
the ones
definitely
who's
not him.
paying your shit. No, no,
Yeah,
definitely not. The majority won't care.
no,
That's just reality of it. I agree with some of his points, and I agree with some of what Disney's doing. Like, I don't agree with a lot of just appeasing public climate anyway. Especially in Disney's case, because they're too big to fail. No matter what they do, they're gonna still exist. You can like people can be mad at Disney. Oh, we want to change this, or we don't like Gina Carano this, and Disney could be like, we don't give a fuck.
yep,
Don't watch our shit if you care. And people would still watch it. They be just fine. Yeah, they would get negative heat publicity wise, but
mm-hmm.
it's they wouldn't care. They wouldn't react as much. But I mean, it's like at the end of the day, like from a realist point of view, if they want to make changes to their properties and to their park, they are free to do so. It is their shit. Now, if they lose money, if there's a billion people who think like this guy does, and Disney takes a hit money wise, they'd be like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't have did that. Let's change things back to the way they were. That could happen, but I doubt it.
Man, I honestly look. I'm there's two things. The first thing is what stands out to me is that he's Christian and he's a conservative Republican.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. When I hear Christian, I don't immediately think of a Republican. You
No.
know what I mean?
That
It's
tells you
like,
where his views are, just those two
yeah,
things. Yeah.
yeah. It's like, okay, Christian, cool. Like Christianity is supposed to be accepting of others and everything, right? No matter what. It's I turn the other cheek because it's not my place to judge others. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah.
It's God's place to judge others, not mine. My place is to love thy neighbor. And if thy neighbor is upset because because they feel like they're being like targeted like for racism and stuff like that, then that means I'm supposed to care about that sort of thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Well, you don't have to care about it, but it's one of those things like I
Yeah.
can't fault them for feeling a certain way. You know,
Mm.
it's not your place to judge. But yet being a Republican, there's that, oh, you shouldn't have to change anything, America this and freedom that, and it's all about, that's just PC pandering, but it's really not. It's being more open to changing stuff that has always bothered a race
Mm.
or a certain demographic of people for all time. But it's like now it's like we have the ability to actually start changing things, stuff that
Yeah.
we couldn't change before. So why not just go and enjoy the fucking part? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just
That's what
ignore everything else.
that's what most people are gonna do. And I mean, I do kind of agree with him when he says it breaks the immersion, but that's immersion that you can't turn off. I get it. I've never been to Disney World. It's not one of my things. I've never been it during family vacations during summer. I could give two fucks if Disney could close their parks tomorrow. I wouldn't care. But I know I got family members. I got friends who work there. I got people who go there every summer for vacations and stuff like that. I don't know if Disney's like this. I don't know if you've been to Disney World where you can tell me how it is, but
I used to work there.
is their parks and their themes and those areas that they do, like what he's talking about, Splash Mountain or whatever, are they like 100% immersion where like you walk in and you have the actors and everybody just being 100% in character all the time? Or is it like a regular theme park where they have their little play or their stunts or whatever, and then that's it? Then they got to reset and do it again
Nah,
for the next group.
nah. So there are certain places. Let's say if you do a ride,
Mm-hmm.
like the jungle ride, like where you're going through the water and stuff like that. They may have certain things that happen during those rides, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a scheduled thing. Like this happens on the clock where it's automated. The
Okay.
only difference is that maybe your tour guide is telling jokes or that kind of thing. Every time you ride is going to be different because you're going to have a different tour guide.
Okay.
Um, Stuff like Fantasia if you want to watch, was it called Fantasia? It was like something that was in, we call it Hollywood Studios back then. Is it Hollywood Studios? Disney Studios? Disney Hollywood? I forgot. It's the one with the giant Mickey hat. You know, the
Mm,
Fantasia hat,
yeah,
the
yeah. I
wizard
know the
hat.
image of what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's at that park we had a Fantasia type show
Mm,
that has to be reset um over because fireworks and stuff like that, and costumes and everything, so that gets reset. But during, like, when you're going through the park, you can tell you're at a damn park. You're
okay.
not breaking an immersion because, one, there's tons of people around you, there's shops and food and stuff like that, so everything's decorated a certain way. But really, what you're seeing up front is, you're not really seeing characters. You're seeing people like me, like janitors,
Mm,
your retail associates, that kind of thing. They had their regular. Everyone has the
yeah.
same
Uniform.
exact costume or uniform. So janitors would have one set, will have one exact set. Retailers would have another exact set, whether that be like a change between shorts to pants, depending on the weather.
Mm.
Long sleeve shirt, short sleeve shirt, that kind of thing. Uh, but then you have the costumers. Those are your on stage entertainers. The on stage entertainers means on stage means in public view, not actually on stage.
So the people that's dressed up in the Mickey costumes, or the people that you take pictures with,
Yeah,
and all of that. Okay.
that sort of thing. Yeah. So they have to be in character, and they have to have handlers when they're out there. Their
Mm.
handlers walk with them and stuff like that. And they're only out there for like sometimes 30 minutes, 40 minutes at a time, and then they switch out, or they'll come back and take breaks, stuff like that. As far as big immersion, it's cool, right? But
Mm.
when I was working there was an issue with, you had to conform to everything. Like, when I tell you Disney World was like,
I had
it
a
was
friend who told me a lot of the negatives
it's
of
like a
working
fucking
at Disney.
internment camp, bro. It
Yeah.
was it was it was weird. It was weird. They teach
People
you
had to
everything.
people had to move into their own little apartments that they set up for them and everything, and it's just like it
Vista
sounds
West,
sounds like a shitty experience.
yeah. It's like it's a great experience if you love Disney World and you want to be a part of something like that, a part of that culture.
Mm.
I thought I did. I didn't. I went there to be an animator. I didn't go there to work at Disney World. I went there to be an animator because that's what I thought you were supposed to do. Get in some type of way and
Mm.
then work your way up, because they have amazing training. You can shadow people. So you don't have to go to school for stuff. Like, I can,
Mm.
if I want to learn business, I can shadow a manager,
And just
and they
watch what he does, and
watch,
learn.
train, all that stuff, and basically
Okay.
like work my way into that position. And it's amazing. They even did that with animators too.
Mm.
But when I went, they had moved the animation studio from Orlando to LA. I mean, or to California, literally like the year before I went. So
Damn.
yeah, I didn't even know. But I still got to meet animators and stuff like that. But like, the way they treat their employees is like, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Because they own all of Orlando, they have internships from all over the world. I'm talking,
Mm.
like, I met people from Japan, like from all over the world. Every 2 weeks, they have an influx of like 1,500 students coming in, and then
Mm.
another 1,500 students leaving. So it's a rotating door of internships. And with the internship, you can pay them whatever. By
Mm.
law, you don't have to pay them anything.
Yeah,
So
because they're
it
not
was,
technically employees.
mhm. So people that would ran the monorail were making like 650 an hour. And I was a janitor, I was making 750. I made more cleaning up the park than a monorail operator who was in charge of lives.
Yeah, it's kind of
So,
weird,
like,
but
yeah.
but
So
if you want to clean the park and present it well, then yeah, then your job matters more than theirs.
I guess it depends on how Disney saw it. But like,
Yeah.
that same year, there was a monorail crash that
Mm.
killed some people, and it's like, whew, and y'all still get paid less than me? That sucks. So, like, during that time, because there's so many basically like over 80% of the workforce is internships.
Mm,
You have you and because Disney World covers such a large area of Orlando, basically all of Orlando is owned by Disney.
mm.
So the poverty rate for everyone else was really high because if you weren't working at a park, you weren't
You weren't
working.
working, yeah.
Yeah. And they wouldn't hire people full time outside of the internships. And I was like, damn, that sucks. So when I was there, everything, you are taught everything. Like literally the first 2 days is a seminar on everything you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to walk, how you're supposed to talk, how you're
Mm.
supposed to point. To this day, I remember it. 2 fingers, 3 fingers, or your whole hand. That's how you're supposed to point. Never point with your forefinger. Never do that. Never do
Why?
this because it's considered rude to in certain cultures.
Oh, okay. I get
So
you.
yeah, it was always 2 fingers, 3 fingers, or the whole hand. You never do this. And if you did that shit, you would get written up.
Mm.
Uniform. Your uniform had to be clean. If you got a stain on your uniform, no worries. There's a warehouse with the exact same uniform for like a fucking quarter mile, bro. It's just like all the same. It's
They
so
probably go through
weird.
them like that, yeah.
Bro, I felt like I was on. I felt like I was on the Death Star, bro. It's like just go pick you out a uniform. It was so weird. So the other thing is, if you were a person of color, it's really difficult to have any kind of expression outside of work, especially with hair, because your hair had to be tied up. Your hair
Mm,
could not touch your collar.
mm,
So if you are coming from, let's say you have locks, like hair locks, because basically like you either your culture, your religion, your family history, you
mm,
all had locks. If you had locks that touch your collar, you had to either tie them up to where they can fit under a hat and hide them,
mm,
or you had to cut them to where they couldn't touch your collar. And back then, I had hair down to like my middle of my back.
mm,
I had to cut my hair so that way it wouldn't like none of that shit touched. If you
mm,
have any kind of shadow, not like this, but like just coming in, you had to shave it. They literally had vending machines with
mm,
shaving cream and razors, and
mm.
they were like $5 each. You had to go shave. Like if a manager saw that shit, go shave. I had a manager tell me that shit. They didn't say this. They said hygiene, right? Keep up your hygiene, but they didn't really say what.
Mm.
Manager saw that shit. She almost wrote me up for having a slight mustache shadow. Shit pissed me off. Everything about that job is one of
Mm,
those you get fired or let go at any moment. If you're late, three if if you're 3 seconds late, you're still late. You can be written
mm,
up. Meaning, I can be standing in line. As soon as that shit hits, if it goes over
mm,
then what I'm supposed to clock in at, I can be written up, even if you're in line. And what they say is you should have came earlier.
mm.
And you
Yeah, they
get three
always give that
strikes.
excuse, yeah.
Yeah, you get 3 strikes. But the way they do it is if you get 3 strikes on the same offense, you can get sent home
Mm.
or fired. So you have all these different opportunities to mess up, but it's just one of those like everything has to be a certain way. Tattoos, if it's summertime and everyone's wearing short sleeve shirt, if you have a sleeve, like a tattoo
Mm.
sleeve, you the only one that's gonna be wearing that long sleeve shirt. And if it
Mm.
rains, you have to put on a poncho. You cannot walk around without a poncho if it's raining. So now you even hotter than that. So
Mm.
there's a lot of that kind of shit that you had to deal with. And
I
I
mean,
don't know.
because that sounds normal. That's like normal business shit. You know, it's like I can see where they're being excessive with it, and maybe that's why they're trying to change things because
I just think
that
it's
does,
excessive.
yeah, that does make your employees upset. So maybe that's why they're going through all of this. Like I thought when the guy mentioned immersion, I thought it was like you ever been to like one of those Renaissance fairs?
Mm-hmm.
You know how you go in and it's like they go
Everybody's
110%.
yeah.
That's what I thought the guy was like, oh, Disney like is and breaks my immersion. That's what I thought it was like.
No, but they do that. they do that there, but those are the characters.
Yeah.
Regular employees don't do that shit. Like regular employees are regular ass employees. We say hi, how you doing, and we have everyone has to smile.
Mm.
All these fake smiles everywhere. That's the only thing you get. But
That's just creepy.
oh, it is extremely creepy, bro. Like it's horrible. Like I've been around places where people smile in my face, and I'm like, you can relax around me, bro. Like you don't have to do that. I work here too, and like the amount of relief that I see come over people when I say that shit, it's just like, oh God, thank you. I didn't know. I thought, we have to have this. I'm like, yeah, I already know. I'm like, on your off day, it's just one of those you can go crazy, and they literally have a mental facility that's a few miles away from the park where weekly people get sent there because they have gone crazy.
Mm.
Like
Of having to
legitimately.
deal with all the rules and the
Yes.
stress and all the. I mean,
Yes.
it makes sense. I
Bro.
mean,
Like let's say you got paper on the ground. You can't bend over at your waist. You have to stoop down, bend your
they
knees.
don't want you to show your ass to people.
Nope.
Mm.
Like everything. It's like when someone teaches you how to walk, talk, move, point,
It's like
smile.
etiquette, like etiquette school or something.
Yeah, it makes you go crazy because you're doing that almost 365 days out the year, and you're doing it
Yep.
to people who are extremely entitled.
And probably rude and dealing with all the other problems that come with the servant industry when a bunch of Karens walking around.
Boy, when I'm saying, ooh, boy, like black people, I think I had the most fun because like you can just talk however you
Yeah.
want, like, not however you want, but like you can kind of be yourself. The tips are great, but this is like when Karens and people like that show up,
Mm.
man, it's hell. Because I still got to smile after they just straight up talking shit to me. You know what I mean? Looking at my hair or something like that. So annoying, dog. Now the whole breaking of immersion thing is like if you have someone walking around with tattoos, which it's you never show tattoos, never
Mm.
neck tattoos, nothing like that. So if you're showing that kind of stuff, people are gonna be like, ugh,
Yeah.
like you're
They're
showing
gonna they're gonna
tattoos.
notice it, but
Yeah.
if they know the reason behind it, then they probably won't care. It may turn off some people, but at the end of the day, those people will come and go.
Hmm.
And Disney won't not they want this ain't gonna make them lose any kind of money. So
Not at all.
it is
Not
what
at
it
all.
is.
But
I
yeah,
mean, those kind of people may just be turned off, but oh well, they'll have to live with it just like the rest of everybody does.
I mean, honestly, it's something that I looked at as like, man, this needs to it does need to change. Because I saw women that came there with like long braids, and it was like their real hair, and it's like I don't want to cut my hair, but I feel like I have to. Like they will always have to put it up in a bun
Mm,
or like find some ways like something to deal with it. When honestly, if you just put it in a ponytail, and even if it's hanging down your back, it's still like it's supposed to
yeah,
be. That's presentable. It looks nice. They're done. They're well done, they're well braided, and it's like, why is this offensive to anybody else? Why
yeah.
why does this person have to hide this? You know, why can't they feel comfortable with that? That's just like those kids that are in like private schools,
Mm,
and you know the story. Uh,
mm.
Teacher
Made,
shaves kid's head because he had locks and stuff in his hair, and
yeah, all
they
that
shave
bullshit.
him
Yeah,
out. Like, yeah, that kind of shit. It's like you were so offended by this person's hair
yeah. It don't
that
mean
you
shit.
had to do that. And it
Like
doesn't mean
I
anything.
can understand in schools. I don't understand it at all because kids will be kids. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Unless you got the word asshole or something written in your hair, old school '90s haircut way or something
Mhm.
like that. That's different. And then again, the school shouldn't be shaving your head at all. I'd be bad as shit if I took my kid to school and they shaved his head. I'd sue the fuck out of him.
Mhm.
But it's in Disney's case, I can understand why they do that because if you're trying to present a certain image
Yeah.
of your people, your workers, and that kind of sort of thing, yeah, it could be excessive and all of that. But at the end of the day, they're not forcing you to work for them. You're choosing
That's
that.
true.
So it's if that's I mean, granted, whatever your situation is, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, and yeah, it's a little bit heavy handed. I know that.
Mhm.
But If you're stuck in that situation where you need that job and Disney's like, hey, you know, okay, we're gonna hire you, but you gotta do something with your hair. You're making that decision for yourself at that point. It is what it is. Granted, you may not want to do it, but you know, if you want that
Yeah,
job, you know, you have to. And it's I can understand where people may feel a certain way about that, but at the end of the day, like I gotta do certain shit at my job. He has
yeah.
to do certain shit at his job. You had to do certain shit at your job. It's like it's that's if that's the job at that point. But like you said, that turns off a lot of people.
Yeah.
That works. So maybe that's why, like I mentioned before, maybe that's why they're doing this. They want a better work environment for their people, so they're lightening the load a little bit.
Honestly, I mean, I feel like more and more jobs, especially in like the digital age and
Yeah.
like and also in the age of like customer service and stuff like that and
Mm-hmm.
entertainment, more and more jobs are turning to are looking at what kind of people we have now in society.
Yeah.
Now we have a lot more people that are open with tattoos and they have
Mm-hmm.
all these expressions, you know, like
Yeah.
these works of expressions on their body, piercings, stuff like that. I can understand with the piercings. At least you can take those out because sometimes just stuff isn't presentable, especially when it's in
Yeah.
this area. But
Mm-hmm.
when you like hair, is supposed to be expression of a
Yeah,
person's
hair
culture.
is universal. If you're playing like, I wouldn't want to see like go to a Disney park and see Belle with like a big ass fucking afro. Well, I would want to see that,
I wouldn't want
but
to see that.
but you know what I'm saying. Unless you're doing
It's
something
the
like that,
character though. That's different.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's the character. Like these characters are established. You have to
yeah,
have that.
yeah. You have to have that particular look, or like let's say like if somebody has a bunch of tattoos with ass and titties showing out on their body, you can't have that being shown or stuff,
Yeah.
or like anything that Disney would consider to be vulgar. That could be anything
Mhm.
from nude, fighting, anime characters, whatever. That I can understand if you didn't want to have them show that. But if it's just a regular, I mean, I don't know what they would consider regular. They would have to go through all of that.
Yeah.
What would be considered a regular tattoo? That would be fine for them.
See,
You
that's the thing
know?
is like even before, like you know how some chicks would just have like a little tattoo of like on their wrist,
Yeah,
that would still be considered too much. Like
yeah.
you would have to cover that. But now
That's the
if
norm. Yeah, it's not.
yeah,
It's not as I'm gonna say lambasted, but I know there's a better word for it. It's not as vilified as it used to be. Like even in
eh,
office jobs, it's unless you work for like a very strict office or like a lawyer's firm or where everything is all suit and ties and shit. Most places is business casual.
yeah,
So
see,
you know,
and that's the thing. I don't want to compare everything to Facebook, right? But
mm,
I've been to Facebook corporate.
yeah,
Holy crap, man! It is when you talk about millennial heaven.
mm-hmm,
Like no dress code. You're just there. You're chilling, beanbags everywhere,
yeah,
and to a lot of conservatives out there,
they
like
probably
that
hate
side of
that.
the
Yeah,
fence, fucking hate it. It's they're
yeah,
not working hard or whatever. Like you know, say what you may, billion dollar company, and they're cranking out
mm-hmm,
like great stuff. Not to mention their retention rate of employees
yeah,
is high. Employees will stay there. When you
mm-hmm,
have when you have a high turnover rate that Disney has, it's one of those. Why would I want to work for somebody that I can't even have my own regular hair out?
yep,
You know what I mean? Why would
yep,
I want to work for somebody that wants to censor me? No, in today's society, people care about censorship.
yeah. And it's not. It's probably not necessarily the people. It's just that with the internet, everything it gets out there a whole lot.
Yeah.
It gets out there instantly versus being where before it was just like that's whatever.
Mhm.
People, so people care about it more as this new generation moves in. But yeah, even in my job, it's not as casual as that. Like you got shares, you got offices stuff, but they care about their employees. Like every year, I get like a monthly pay increase.
Mhm.
I just got a new position, as a matter of fact, where they're paying me more. Then you also got all the stuff in our office. It's like a modern office and stuff with all the conveniences. You got all the benefits. You got all the good stuff that people want to keep you at that company to because it makes you want to work for them. It makes you want to go to
Yeah.
work and do your job right.
So the pay they're
Mm-hmm.
paying you something and you feel like that pay is worth something, you feel
Yeah.
like the stuff they do for you is worth something. So yeah, of course they're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna pay you this much, We're going to give you everything you need, but for us, you got to cover up your tattoos. You got to do all
Yeah.
this, this kind of stuff. That's easy. But when you have a company
Yeah.
that
Don't pay
pays
you
you
shit.
little
Yeah.
to nothing, and
Yeah.
all you're here for is just to be a part of the dream. People are like, especially now, like millennials and even Generation Z's, they don't want to be a part of your dream. They want to do their own dream. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Like
And
I wouldn't want to work for Disney either. Like if I heard I
yeah,
had to do all that stuff, I wouldn't work for them. It's just I wouldn't go
yeah.
to the park.
Like, why would you want to feel like you have to cover up yourself for little to no pay, and then just to get shit on by people like that? It's like
Yeah.
it's no, it's
I
not
don't,
worth
I
it.
don't care what kind of Disney majestic bullshit that people think that they get from the park. I wouldn't work for them either. I'd be like, screw that. I'll get another job. I'm good. But I don't know. Like I said, Disney has not been a good big thing in my life at all as far as the parks. Like even when I went down there, we went down there, me and my family, as like a family vacation type thing. And my mom gave us a choice. You want us to go to Disney or Universal? We chose fucking Universal. So
Hmm.
and didn't even care about Disney.
I will say this: it's huge. I tried to see everything when I was there. I was there for like maybe a few months.
Mm.
My goodness, it's so fucking big, though. It's huge. Went to Epcot. Like Epcot is like, yeah, it's like 100 something countries there or something like that.
Mm.
Where I went. Japan. Where's Japan at?
So like what do you mean when you say countries like that? Like they have like little areas
Epcot.
that like makes it look like it's authentic?
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay.
I'm telling you, that's how big this place is. Epcot is where basically where all the countries meet. So
Is
it's
that the big white golf ball looking thing?
mhm.
Okay.
That's the Epcot. I forgot what it's called, but it's like Epcot Center or something like that. So it's like this almost a straight line,
Mm.
long as shit, and each country is like basically right next to each other. So you have Japan. It looks like a little like a Japanese like
Like an
temple.
alleyway
No,
or
like a temple. Not you talking
okay.
about like Kyoto or something like that. No, I'm talking like they'll have stuff that kind of stands out. Like let's say if you go to France, it'll
Mm.
have a fake version of the Eiffel Tower there.
Okay.
And it's maybe like the Eiffel Tower is maybe like 2 stories tall, but you can't climb it.
Mm.
The Japanese temple would be like 2 stories tall. Actually, yeah, it would be 2 stories tall. On on the inside, at the bottom, will
Mm.
be like a gift shop. They have a place where you can pop open oysters, and it may have a pearl inside, stuff like that. You would have to
Mm.
pay for it, and then upstairs would have a restaurant where you can try sushi, like Japanese type cuisines, and
Okay,
they
so
have
you can
actual
get
chefs from Japan.
the food's culture there
Hmm.
at whichever country thing.
Basically,
Okay.
like what country you want to visit, go experience the culture there that would typically be like what the culture is about. It's a very Americanized version of the culture,
Mm.
but they still get like people that come from overseas usually are working at Epcot, because
Okay.
they're teaching their culture to
Mm.
us. Really cool place, huge as hell. Yeah, that's the first place I ever tried sushi. It
Oh,
was,
okay.
and it's amazing. It's amazing. From there, you got the MGM. That's what it used to be called, MGM Studios, and it got turned to Hollywood Studios, which is like the,
Mm.
the Mickey hat. That's where all of your cool stuff is going to be. Like that's where I worked. Like your Indiana Jones stuff, all your like really good rides are going to be there. Your Star Wars stuff, that kind of thing.
Mm.
Then you have the Magic Kingdom. You know what's in the Magic Kingdom, all of the like cool little Disney stuff, and then you have the Animal Kingdom, which is just really just like a big jungle place. I don't really like they have characters walking around everywhere, but that place is more like animals and nature type stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, like the park is huge. Like if you look at a map, it's some square footage. But I would probably want to see Universal though. Like I already went there once. I was like, I would probably see Universal before I go back to
Mm.
Disney.
All right.
But yeah,
Well.
that's it. I just saw this article and I wanted to talk about that. Just
Mm.
look at what the commentary is about. It just seems like everyone is like more political now than I would say than ever before, but it's just like we've always been political. It's like, damn.
Yeah, it's just out there more.
Yeah. But what do y'all think in the comments below? Do you agree with what this guy's saying where uh, Disney should be able to keep things, less PC, more strict, that kind of thing for the immersion? Do you guys have any similar anecdotes like that happen in y'all lives? You can let us know that in the comments. And if there's something else that you guys want us to react to, you can let us know that in the comments below too. And as well as our social media is going to be in the description.
Hey, YouTube. I guess I can't think of anything witty to say to end this one, so be safe out there, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Later.